Welcome back to the Scoop College Basketball Podcast. We are back for another episode, which it's been a few weeks, but we thought we would get one last episode in before we started doing our conference previews, which will likely probably be our next episodes for a while. Don't you think it's about time for that, Kyle?
We got a lot of ground to cover, and especially after just getting to August, I think was big. July's a real dead period. So
Yeah,
now that
I
we're in
mean,
August, I think we can start getting into that stuff. So
we hit double digit days until the college basketball season. We're at 95 today, and if you haven't been paying attention, we have a YouTube series going on where every day we release a video. We're doing a top 100 countdown and counting down the top 100 teams in the country going into next year. Today, number 95 was Weber State, who is a team I really like, but we'll have stuff to say about him if we end up doing a conference preview of every conference, which we might do like short ones for like the non like Power Six
do we
and
want to
like
start with the big ones or work
I
our
don't
way up?
know. We can figure it out behind the scenes, but
All right.
you should get the listeners some more entertainment. But yeah, as I was saying, we're kind of doing just a recap episode of the main news and notes. Every college basketball headline that's happened in the past 2 weeks, because surprisingly, for it being late July and early August, there's still been stuff happening. Guys are still entering the portal. International recruits are falling out of the sky, and just some more like overall major college basketball news is happening. But we should touch on the portal first. And the first name that we're going to hit on is Chris Ledlum, who committed shortly after we did our last episode. So it's not super new news at this point. We did allude on the last episode that St. John's was probably going to be where he went. But I think he actually did sign like yesterday, so I guess it's still kind of relevant news-ish. But yeah, Chris Ledlum is I think like 6'7", 6'8", power forward. Definitely a high major caliber athlete, pretty skilled, physical. Yeah, so coming from Tennessee where he committed this offseason, but originally coming from Harvard, we're both Ledlum fans, but more than just Ledlum, like this fills a huge gap for St. John's because he is a like plus level power forward and he's a true power forward, which they did not have. So I mean, this has been done for a while, but what are your just like quick thoughts about how he
Yeah.
helps the team?
When it came out, like, obviously, all the overreaction side of me comes out, but I really don't think it is one. Like, yeah, it's kind of what they needed. It was like, the last Infinity Stone to that starting lineup. They had Glenn Taylor starting at the 4. And now they can really start someone really good and skilled in Chris Ledlum. He's really good downhill, scored all 3 levels. Like, why not? Like, why couldn't they compete for a Big East title, right? Like, I mean, you got Rick Pitino. Like, the sky's the limit. Like, especially like some of the other contenders. Like, you think of Villanova, think, obviously red flag at the coaching spot. Like, you don't know what you're gonna get with Kyle Neptune. I'm, still very skeptical of him. And the others, Shaka, Dan Hurley, obviously, but Sean Miller's had his question marks too. So he definitely probably has the coaching advantage here of all the other Big East contenders here. So or he's definitely on par with the other contenders. So why wouldn't they be in that conversation? And they're as deep as anybody. That's another thing. They can go like 10 guys deep. This move gives them a ton of flexibility with their bench. You got Naheem Aline, you got guys like that. So they're really loaded.
Yeah, well, I do think that they will be good, but I think there's a 0% chance that they win the Big East. I think the Big East is too good, and they just don't have the top end talent necessarily. Like they have a really good roster, but I don't think it's even close to like the rosters that like Creighton and Marquette have. Like maybe even you throw UConn in there. So I think it's an egregious take that you have them winning the Big East.
Oh, I mean, they can. Like, I won't say they won't.
I don't know that they can though. Like I think
I
their
mean, to
ceiling
say they
is.
don't have top end talent, I think is false.
I
Like
mean,
you have
they have
somebody
good
like
talent, but like
RJ Luis, who's like a 6'8" wing who could really turn into something. Like, NBA scouts have looked at him. Like they definitely have talent there. And you obviously have Jordan Dingle, who is the NCAA's pretty much leading scorer. And we know he'll translate anywhere. So you have him too. And I think, and you have Chris Ledlum. Like you have a lot of scoring options. So
yeah, I just don't think the roster is close to some of like the really top teams, but it's still a really good roster. They're still top 25. I think we maybe top 20, but I don't think they're the Big East is too good this year. Like,
you definitely have teams who've been there before. That's definitely, there's something to be said about that, right? And this is a brand new roster. Obviously you have Soriano too. I think a lot of people are forgetting about him and how damn good he was last year. But yeah, he's really the only returner. So, there's
yeah,
obviously that route. I know that's why people are a bit hesitant, but they definitely have the potential to go head to head and toe to toe, I feel like. But
yeah. I mean, okay. So what do you think? Like, getting away from that conversation, but what do you think like a realistic expectation for St. John's fans should be in year one?
I mean, yeah, I think you just start with the tournament bid, but let's just say getting out of the first four. Like let's just, let's hope they're not a first four team for this third time in like what? They were an 18 with Shamari Pons.
Yeah,
I swear they were another year too, but maybe it was just that year. No, that was Arizona State. I'm thinking of. Yeah, Arizona State always finds themselves in the first four. So no, I think they just need to make the field and like not the first four.
yeah.
The first four it's tough. No, it's definitely a tough place to be. Not for every program.
I think winning a tournament game is also
Oh, for sure.
I think that's another thing that they would
They haven't done that in a while.
the fans would also expect in
Yeah.
one. But either way, that's definitely a program that's on the upwards turn. It has a lot of potential, has a lot of market, untapped potential, the New York market. There's just and I mean they're getting
I
into
think we
more
just got to
recruiting
see.
more.
We got to see how they play, and
Yeah, definitely one of the teams that I'm really interested in watching.
well,
Yeah, so when Ludlam committed to St. John's, that affected other players on the roster, such as Quinn Szynski, who saw the writing on the wall that he was probably going to lose a significant amount of playing time. He entered the portal, and like a day, like 24 hours after he entered the portal, he was off to West Virginia, who quite frankly just need bodies, and he's a maybe a high major caliber player, not a high major caliber starter, but like he was fine at Louisville. So I mean, don't really have much to say about this, but he's better than whoever else West Virginia had, and that just like might as well take him.
yeah.
And then West Virginia, they got Jose Perez back, which again, like I'm not a huge Jose Perez guy, but he's better than whoever else they would have had if he would have like transferred somewhere else. And his asking price was like insanely high considering he's really not that good. I mean, he's good, but
Need an NIL asking price.
yeah, it was that scared some schools away.
Oh gosh, of
But
course.
yeah, I mean, like I don't know. He's good, kind of. Like I just think he's a player that doesn't really translate well up levels,
No,
which
I
I
don't.
mean, because like he can't really shoot. Like I don't
His
I
play
don't know.
style is really weird. He's not a traditional guard, like at
Yeah.
all.
He's like a 3-4 who's like kind of a good passer, but like
Right.
I don't
He's a
know.
3 or 4, but he's really undersized for a 3 or 4.
Yeah.
That's what makes
He
it a little
he's big though. Like he's not like tall, but
He's
he's pretty
strong.
big.
Nah, he is strong for sure.
But either way, West Virginia, I'm still not really in this roster, but they do have some good pieces. But um Kansas transfer Marcus Adams Jr. is off to Gonzaga. Not sure if he'll be eligible this year because he entered a portal obviously significantly after the deadline, but he's also hasn't. I mean, he never played for Kansas, and he was in the 2023 class, so I'm not sure if he's going to get a waiver. I'm not sure if it really matters. I'm not sure if he's really going to do that much this year. But I mean, it's definitely worth the swing for Gonzaga. Like, see, like a top 50 4-star recruit that's open
Yeah,
might be
where
eligible
would
this
he even
year.
play? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
I mean, let me check Gonzaga's
They
roster.
have Anton back too, don't they?
Yeah, they do. And Anton's going to be the starting four, if I'm not
Right.
mistaken. But I mean, yeah, I guess I do have like Ben Gray, Caden Perry,
Yesterday, Ben
Braden
Gray. I
Huff.
know he's gonna get all
So,
this. And Ike, of course. So,
yeah.
right.
So it would probably be best if he just didn't play this year
I
anyway
would
and redshirted.
redshirt. Yeah.
Yeah, which he might be forced to either way. But
Right.
yeah, I'm not going to spend a ton of time talking about someone who hasn't played a college basketball game yet. But another where did my Zoom window disappeared? Um, but yeah, Arkansas transfer in was Keon Menifield, who will be redshirting because he is academically ineligible this season, which is not great news. So I'm not sure where my are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. I don't know. My Zoom window just like couldn't find it. It was went missing. But yeah, Keon Menifield is not going to play this year because of academic reasons. I don't know if that was like put out there, but that's what it is. So, which I actually think is kind of good for him, like personally, because then he'll be probably better next year. But so then Arkansas had another scholarship to use because they took Minifield off scholarship and got New Mexico State or Southern Miss transfer Denjay Harris, who committed to New Mexico State and then opened up and turned it into Arkansas. So I mean,
I actually agree. Like Manningfield was kind of the odd man out in terms of their guards in which they brought in. Like he's probably gonna come off the bench. I don't know how he's gonna exactly fit. I think a red shirt would be, not a bad idea. Especially, some of those guys. I think isn't L. Ellis in his last year of eligibility or
yeah.
so I mean he'll be gone next year and he'll have a role opened for himself. So no, I feel like actually Arkansas actually did get better here. They actually attacked the need. And they needed, like an enforcer, somebody who's good on defense inside, on the glass off the bench. They did lack that off the bench. They still have Brazel, of course, but they could run Denijay at the 4 if they want for some time next to Brazel, which would be a really just an absolute death lineup. Teams would not be able to do much inside against those two. So, it gives them a lot of roster flexibility. I think Denijay's a really good get for them.
Yeah, I think he's a really good like Kamani Johnson replacement. Just a guy that's gonna
Yeah,
come in and like hustle and get some rebounds and
right.
play defense. So yeah, I also really like Minifield. So I think it definitely opens up more of a door for him next year to be
Mm-hmm.
good.
It's definitely a log jam. There was this year, so
Yeah. But so Memphis, we need to talk about Memphis because Teofile Leonard decommitted to pursue his start his professional career, and they somehow landed a replacement-ish in Jaquan Walton. And Jaquan Walton is a very good player, but I think losing Teofile is like huge because like I mean, if you compare to players like head to head, like Walton and Teofile, like maybe they're around the same, just like
size wise and build wise, right?
yeah, and like, even like production wise, I mean, obviously Walton is really efficient offensive player, can really scored a ball. But the thing is that they already kind of like, I'm not gonna criticize the ball in that because that's great if you can get it at this point, even though I'm not completely sure that he'll be eligible. But I think losing Leonard is huge because he brought something to the table that Memphis didn't have anyone else. He was crazy athletic. He had NBA upside. I'm not sure if Memphis really had anyone else like this. And Tiafle was one of the best defenders in the country, which is like
I don't know how
not.
Walton is defensively compared
He's
to
like he can't.
it.
He's okay. Like he's not
Yeah,
gonna bring. He's
they
not like a
definitely lose a
liability,
lot
but he's
there,
not
and
like good either.
and they don't really have a lot on the perimeter defensively now. So that's something that you could say is a weakness of Memphis's now. That I didn't have before, and that was part of the reason I like them is because they had Tiafle on the perimeter and they're on the glass, things like that. So I definitely think they got a little worse, but I think they'll still be pretty good.
And let's see. Yeah, Memphis is going to be interesting. I'm not sure if I'm really in on them anymore. They
I
just have
will
like,
put FAU over them now.
yeah, I feel like it's kind of talented, but they have so many players who have like
I've been
issues.
hearing DeAndre might come back.
That's going to be ridiculous if he gets a waiver. There is
I
no way
know,
he would legitimately
good
be
old Chris
eligible.
from our chat has kind of been explaining things, but the angle they're trying to take to get him a waiver is that they're saying the Evansville coach gave him like bad advice when he was hurt or some shit.
But
And
I thought I was under the impression that so the reason why he's
crazy.
not eligible, the reason why he took a year away is because he graduated high school and he just did like nothing for a year. Then he went to a prep school. So that year at a prep school counted against his eligibility because he was like over a
Right.
year removed from high school. Like the year that he lost his eligibility was not the year at Evansville that he had to sit out. That was just, I think that counts as a red shirt.
Yeah, I believe so.
So like
It was
I don't see
one.
why he would be eligible, but apparently like people in Memphis are supposedly confident that he will be eligible,
Yeah, that's what I've
which
been
like
hearing. Just shocking to me. I
which
didn't.
I think it's ridiculous if they let him play. I mean, he's clearly has no eligibility left and he is 9 years older than most incoming freshmen. At some point, you just have to go pro. Like he's a good enough pro player. Like
He is,
he
man.
can get a good contract, like not an NBA, but he can make a lot of money overseas. Like
100%. Like Tel
just
Aviv or anything like
yeah,
in the
just
Middle East.
go ahead and do that, DeAndre. Just get out of college. You've
Ah,
been here long enough. But if he does
go
come
get a
back,
job.
he is, I will think a lot higher of Memphis as a team with him back. She is really good.
Oh, of course, right.
Yeah. Yeah, they have just so many question marks on their roster. Like half their players aren't even on campus yet. Like who knows what's going to happen with Mikey
Yeah, I heard
Williams?
Mikey hasn't even
He's
set it up.
still David Jones still
Shocker.
hasn't gotten his papers cleared, even though he was playing against Memphis the other day because he's on the Dominican national team because Memphis was on their foreign tour. He hasn't been the papers haven't gone through, but he's playing against him. But like Jalen Young
So
hasn't made to
funny.
campus yet, who's like their backup point guard, so whatever. But you still want him. Like this is going to be interesting. I can say that and be confident about that. Another transfer decision that was made that actually was another guy that had been at multiple schools this offseason is Jeremiah Williams, who is off to Rutgers. And yeah, he kind of an Iowa State transfer. He tore his Achilles, which is kind of the worst injury to have before his season at Iowa State. So he never played there. He committed to Illinois this offseason, decommitted, and ended up at Rutgers. So I think it's a fine take. Rutgers had a lot of open spots left. So I mean, might as well take a shot on him. Um, yeah, I guess that's just kind of what it
I think they
is.
were kind of lacking in the backup point guard department.
Yeah,
They needed somebody who's, his best attribute is his distributing. He gets others involved, and what you can do is, you can slot him with the starters for some minutes. You can keep some of the starters on the floor. Like you can have him next to Noah Fernandez or Dylan Simpson or Derek Simpson, and you could run them, together and stuff. So he's definitely somebody who could run minutes with the starters and be a quality bench guy. So like,
Yeah, I just have no clue. Like if he's a two-time transfer, but you would think he would be eligible since he didn't play last year. He's
right.
also coming off an Achilles tear, so who knows?
You'd think
It's
they'd be pretty lenient on that, right?
yeah,
It
yeah.
doesn't get any worse than that.
Yeah. Speaking about records, did you hear that? Supposedly Paul Mulcahy is unhappy at Washington.
And why would that be?
That's a good question because I don't know, maybe the checks aren't coming through because the only reason he went there is because he got money, and then supposedly Rutgers like closed the door on him. So who knows if he'll be staying at Washington or not? But
Oh, he
that will
won't be going
be
back to Rutgers, that's for
no.
sure.
Rutgers has closed that door.
Um,
Um,
it's interesting. I didn't see
yeah,
Paul as a money guy, but you know what? Like maybe in his last year, he's trying to get a nice check before he goes overseas. So
yeah. I mean,
I don't know.
word on the street was that the check was for 400K. So
It's
who
solid. It's
knows?
something.
Maybe he didn't get that, and maybe that's why he's unhappy. But it's August, and guys are still entering the portal. In
Mhm.
Ball State guard Boogie Coleman entered the portal on August 1st, which is absolutely crazy. I'm really torn what to think about this because on one side, like this is ridiculous. You're entering the portal on August 1st after saying you'd be back, and if you had the intention to leave the whole time, you could just said you were leaving and then like waiting to actually graduate to do anything.
All right.
But it just other time, like college basketball, like these players are becoming like a business. Like these are business moves, and quite frankly, the best business move for Jarron Coleman is entering the portal at an extremely late date because he's not like that great, but at the same time, he's better right now than anyone else who's really out there. Like
Yeah.
you're a Missouri fan. He was terrible at Missouri.
Oh yeah. Jeez, I just remembered he was a Missouri
He
Tiger.
he was
I
he
didn't
was
remember that.
he was
I don't
bad.
want to
That's
remember that.
that Missouri team is probably something that is not too much
Yeah,
of a thing to
This
remember.
Kwanzaa transfers, man,
Yeah.
brutal.
But yeah, like Coleman went back to Ball State because he had been that was his second stint at Ball State this year. But yeah, it's I'm really torn because like he's gonna get a bag from someone. Is he a high major player? I mean, he wasn't really at Missouri, but
No,
I don't
let's
know.
hope he got a little better, right? I damn
Yeah.
hope so. He's like 2 years older, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean he was
oh,
decent this
man.
year, but I
He
guess
could
we will
ride a
see.
bench somewhere. He's not starting anywhere, unless like maybe Oregon State or some shitty team like that.
Yeah, I mean supposedly he's taking a UCF visit. Like
Okay, I
uh
actually could see him there.
supposedly
Off
DeMar
the
Langford is
bench.
also taking a UCF visit.
Who?
DeMar Langford, who was at Boston College. He,
Oh,
he's he's still
I liked Demar Langford. I think he's
he's
solid.
still floating out there. Another player that's floating out there is Mac Etienne, who suppose is down to
Um,
DePaul and LaSalle.
oh, let's go.
He's actually not that bad though. Like Loki, like
I hope he
he.
goes to. I actually think he might go to LaSalle. I don't know.
I
The
think
Fran Dunphy
yeah.
effect. I don't know.
I
But
mean
I think
LaSalle
DePaul might be
does need
getting
some
more
bodies.
money. I don't know.
I mean probably more in LaSalle you would think.
Definitely.
But yeah, like Etienne is not like that bad. Like he's not that great, but like he has 3 years of eligibility left. He's played on a top five team last year where he showed some flashes. Like,
Yeah, if you're either one of those schools, you want him. Like he's
and both
definitely
those
somebody
schools
you
are
want.
in desperate need of some bigs.
Yeah, LaSalle is this one Lithuanian kid, Rokish Josius.
Yes.
I actually like him a lot, but like he's definitely like still getting used to the game. You could tell he was, started late. He's those late bloomer overseas guys that kind of
Yeah,
start late.
but he's also like the only big on the roster.
And yeah, they don't have anything outside of him. The dramas are gone, so
Yes.
they don't have anyone else. So they definitely could use ETN for sure.
Yeah, he definitely had some good games at times. And today, South Florida center Malik Ewan has entered a portal. Um, Probably just didn't work out at South Florida because I thought he would start, but I don't know what went down there. I mean, he just entered a portal like an hour ago, so I don't really know anything, but I guess we'll just see what happens.
Mhm.
Yeah. But
Yeah, you never know sometimes.
moving to the high school commits, I'm just gonna kind of fly through these because I don't know a ton about these guys, but UConn got a four-star combo guard Ahmad Noel. Four-star big man John Bull has committed to Ole Miss, 40 time being at least. John Bull has had a weird recruitment because like a month or two ago, for anyone not familiar with the situation, a month or two ago he committed to Florida and then decommitted fairly quickly. It
Oh
was like
yeah, him.
it was like a few weeks. So like whatever, just probably shouldn't have committed there in the first place. But then the weird part was that um like a week or so ago, he released a top four that let me pull it up what the schools were. I know like it was like Ohio State, UTSA, um, but Ole Miss wasn't on it, which was interesting. Let me pull it up.
UTSA. Oh.
Yeah, it was Ohio State, UTSA, Georgia Tech, and USC. Then like 2 days later, he's like he's not rumored, he is like reported to take an official visit to Ole Miss, and now he's committed. So I don't know, but he's kind of good. Like he's
Doesn't
like
Ole Miss
really
have all these
lanky.
bigs on their roster? You got
Yeah,
Sharp, you got
I
Cecil.
mean they won't have Sharp after this year.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he's next year, and Sharp will be out of eligible. Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, Creighton got a four-star in Jackson McAndrew. Can really stretch the floor, so I'm really excited for that one. Utah got a Turkish prospect in Karahan Figalu. I most likely botched that name. So if you're listening to the podcast, Karahan, just ignore that. But yeah, he averaged 11.6 points and 4.9 rebounds for Turkey at FIBA U19, which was a good Turkey team. And we will talk about another member of that Turkey team shortly. But yeah, Cal got an international guy that was playing in the US. Serbian. He was Serbian, or he still is Serbian, but he was playing high school basketball in New York. And Vladimir Pavlovic, who is a point guard who I think has got some pretty positive things said about him as like a multi-year like guy like that. Illinois got Jason Jaxtis, a three-star forward. Three-star point guard Dayton Forsyth is off to Oklahoma. I've heard a lot of good things about him as well. Providence got a three-star Ryan Milla. Xavier got some random international guy. Gaitis Nemetskia, who apparently transferred from like college in Lithuania. So I have
Hmm.
no clue how that eligibility situation will work
Yeah,
out.
that's true.
But he's also like the 13th man, so
Right.
here's how it
Yeah,
works out really. He's probably
exactly.
not gonna do much, but Xavier also wants to add they always want to add like an international guy late. Because I remember they were like
Most
strongly in the
likely.
running for Yusuf Kayat last year. Um, I know they wanted like that Canadian guy that went to Georgia Tech, Ibrahim Sacco. But yeah, Marquette got a guy. They got Caden Hamilton, who is I first thought this guy was a walk on, but apparently he's like a scholarship player, just like reclassed. I think he's redshirting, just kind of like a potential piece. Maybe you get something out of him, maybe you don't, and he'll be at like some random mid major in 2 years, but it's probably worth taking a shot at because Marquette also had like a few scholarships to burn. So Nebraska had a 2023 guy in Matar Diop, pretty solid late pickup, and West Virginia they filled another scholarship with Aday, who's an international prospect. So yeah, none of those were like super notable. Maybe like the first few were, but like, do you have just any thoughts about any of these guys? We'll talk about like some of the main
I
international guys in a
expected
second.
John Bull to be at Florida, so that's one that kind of surprised me. And I don't know why these guys decommit so early. But Florida did have a lot of young centers lined up, so maybe he's questioning where his minutes were gonna come. So kind of worry about that, I guess. So
Yeah. The Colonial Athletic Association has changed its name. Obviously, we don't have Dan here on the podcast, but yeah, it is now the Coastal Athletic Association. Not much to say about that, but that just is what it is. They're kind of
Colonial was just
expanding a
such a
little.
staple, man. Like,
They're kind of expanding a little down the coast more than just like in
yeah,
Virginia, like Maryland
I
area-ish. So
geographically it makes a lot of sense. Like,
yeah,
it's just
it's kind of
it'll
more
take you down.
modern name as well.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, now we are getting to international guys that actually matter significantly. There's four of them that we have to talk about, and two of them are head to UCLA, and Aday and Berka Buyuktunsel. Might have screwed that one up, but I don't know. I've heard his name pronounced multiple different ways, so just a guessing game at this point. But yeah, these guys are good. Like, I don't know. Have you watched any highlights on these guys?
No, I haven't. I've heard a lot about Aday. He's supposed to be really good.
Yes,
So
both are very good. Buyuktunsel is more of a polished prospect right now. Like, he's can play high level basketball like right now. Like, he does a little bit of everything, really impacts winning. So he will step right in year one. Mara, on the other hand, he's still like really good,
I know he's
but
not a great 3-point shooter. No,
I mean,
that's
he's like
really his thing.
7'3" or whatever. So
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right.
I think he's
I'm
actually like,
confusing him for the Jan
oh,
guy.
Jan Vide, he's been committed for a
Yes.
while. Yes. But
Yes,
yeah,
that's what.
Mara's like this Spanish prospect who is like projected. He's going to be like maybe a lottery pick whenever he ends up entering the draft. But yeah, they are both really good. Bouyuk Tunsil probably has a more instant impact, but Mara is probably, he's definitely the better prospect. But yeah, this is huge for UCLA because this really impacts how I think about UCLA. It really bumps him up my power rankings. I think I have him around 20th now with the additions of these guys who are not official yet, but like they basically said, and like they're just waiting to like actually announce the signings of them. Like it's a done deal. But yeah, these are two huge prospects. And yeah, as I was saying, what I was gonna say about this is because UCLA assistant coach Ivo Simovic was hired by the Raptors, who was like the mastermind of international recruiting. I mean, we mentioned the things he's done before. So then, like, he took the Raptors job. Like, people didn't really know like whether they were still going to get Mara and Buyuktunsel. Like, I mean, they already had like Jan Vide and Elaine Fibula locked up,
Right.
so those guys were going to come. But yeah, so then they did hire a guy the other day. I think it was like Nemanja Jovanovic or something like that. He was a UT Arlington assistant. He got hired there, but then I think he's more or less going to replace Evo's role. But yeah, this is huge that UCLA was still able to get these guys, which I didn't really know if that would happen. And it seems like they're still going to be a dominant international recruiting team. And, but yeah, another international guy that has been getting a lot of talk and buzz is Zvonimir Ivisic, who is off to Kentucky. And do you know anything about this guy either?
Um,
Okay. So I think Kentucky fans are overhyping him a lot more
that's what I've been
than,
hearing though.
yes. He is I'm not gonna say he's not good because he is like 7'3" or so and is a can shoot. He's like kind of, I mean, he's like a really skilled, like hypothetically, he's like, I think his highlights are a lot better than like he actually is. Kind of like the Grant Nelson issue where people only watch highlights and don't actually watch full games, even though he was still good. But yeah, like this guy is way more of a prospect, and he's like not even super young either. So I don't know, and he's only going to stay 1 year in college. Like there's no way that because he's already declared for the NBA draft twice. So if he declares another time, he has to stay in. And like at the U20 championships where he played recently, like he was solid, but like he got there were like college players that weren't like that great that were like Benny Schroeder was like significantly better than him in their matchup, and Benny Schroeder like couldn't see the floor at Oklahoma last year, and like Danny Wolf, who's like Yale's center who averaged like 7.3 minutes per game last season, was like one of the best players in the tournament. So who knows? But I mean, I guess we'll see. I'm not really expecting much out of him, but it is great to see that like Kentucky is going international recruiting. Like
Sure.
really all these international recruits are good. It's good for the sport to make college basketball more international for sure. We have another guy in Australian moving away from Europe to Australia, and Johnny Furphy, who is off to Kansas. I assume you haven't watched any of his highlights as you have not watched any of these other guys, but he is he's like 1 through 3. He's really skilled, solidly athletic, has some really good court vision. I'm not sure about how he is instantly, but I think he could be like a really good player down the line, depending how long he stays at Kansas. So I really do like this ad. It happened last night. Anything to say about any of these international guys?
Yeah, I just gonna be interesting to see like how much they actually play. I definitely think the Kentucky guy might get some time because they're a little thin at big.
Mhm.
Obviously they have Trey Mitchell, but in terms of like backup minutes, like they're kind of up for grabs. I feel like
Yeah, I
so.
mean, Bradshaw and Anyancha are currently hurt, so
Right? Yeah, I knew that. So uh, he'll
yeah.
definitely be in the mix.
But just a bit of an older note as well. But obviously, Bronny underwent cardiac arrest at USC practice. He was since been in stable condition, and I mean, he's been out of the hospital for a while. So I mean, not really a ton. Just kind of hoping everything there works itself out. And I mean, I hope he plays, but more importantly, I hope he is. This doesn't affect his future career. Like I hope, and or his life. Like hope he's able to
Right.
get fully 100% and just not be like a lingering issue. But yeah, there's. I don't think there's actually any correlation here, but it's really interesting this happened 2 years in a row at USC because obviously Vinci Uchukwu, this happened to him last off season as well, and I mean comparing these two, just or talking about Iwachukwu, he made his debut in January and clearly was like not like 100, or he was 100%. He just wasn't like 100% with the flow of the game. Like he was rusty, which was definitely something that I
Probably a bit
noticed.
out of
Obviously,
shape, when you haven't played
yeah.
in long in the game atmosphere.
So I'm interested to see if USC, if Bronny plays at all this year, and if he does play, what he's going to look like. Which obviously, the main concern is his health and well being. Anything more to add on that?
Yeah, I think, they just gotta take it week by week and kind of evaluate where he is. I think, the biggest thing is getting, again, his conditioning back. Like something like that psychologically can really affect a player, right? You know, they'll be physically better maybe a couple months later, but mentally they're not all the way confident. They're kind of, scared to get back out there. And so they got to take it careful, especially with him psychologically. They got to make sure he's all the way back and ready. So,
Yeah. But yeah, the Maui Invitational bracket was released since we've recorded a last podcast, and it is stacked. I mean, obviously the teams have already been released, but the bracket was released as well. And The matchups are Kansas versus Chaminade, Marquette versus UCLA, and those are like in a quadrant of 4 there, and then Tennessee versus Syracuse, and Purdue versus Gonzaga in the bottom of the bracket. And this is the best MTE of all time, right?
Yeah, I mean, top to bottom, like, the Maui Invitational has been top heavy in years past. Like, there's a couple good teams and, there's the gimme wins. But I feel like top to bottom, like, there's matchups I want to see. So,
I mean, I think there are 6 top 20 teams here.
right. And plus, you get to see Chaminade, which is going to be fun.
They are going to get killed. This is
They're
a
going to
worse
get
year for
killed,
them to
but
be
it's going to
in.
be just cool to see them against
It's a worse
Kansas.
year for them to be in it because there's not a single team here they even like stand a fighting chance
Yeah, I
against.
know. It's usually good to have them in there, but they're definitely in over their shoulders this year.
But yeah, let me go to my ranking and see where I have all these teams. So obviously Kansas, I have Kansas 1, I have Purdue at 2, I have Marquette at 5, Tennessee at 6, Gonzaga at 8, and UCLA at 19. So for them all to be in the same MT is it's
Yeah,
just crazy.
UCLA is definitely moving up my rankings since they landed those two guys. So they're definitely in my top 25 now. They weren't, but they definitely are now. So
I hope someday I can make it to the Maui Invitational.
yeah, I've
Definitely
been
something
to
I want to do.
Hawaii once.
Yeah, same.
I wasn't. No, I think we were on Maui. I was the islands. We didn't visit the Big Island. I think we were on Oahu for like a day, but we were mostly on
Okay.
Maui. But no, it'd be a great trip, of course.
Yeah,
And
that
I didn't
is
really
like
prioritize basketball when I was there last, so now I
yeah.
can.
Yeah, definitely gonna be on my bucket list after I graduate, as are many other games. Like there's definitely a lot of like arenas and like places I want to go. Like I want to go to GCU because they have a crazy home
They
environment.
do. Like if you're on the West Coast or anywhere near there, like I feel like San Diego State, Grand Canyon would be a really good game to
Hmm.
get to. But
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
at Grand
yeah.
Canyon apparently, so
They do play this year. San
which is
Diego State
crazy.
at Grand
I
Canyon,
saw
which
that. I was like, wow, they've really got them on the schedule. Um,
that'll be a fun environment. Like
it will be, even
Grand
if the
Canyon
game might
is
not be that close, but
it,
I
it
think it
could.
could be,
I
like
mean,
San Diego State doesn't blow anybody out. So,
and GCU is good.
yeah, I don't
Like
know. Like, do they still have Ray Harrison
yeah,
or?
like I have the roster pulled up. They have Jovan Blackshear back, who was like
Oh, yeah,
hurt in
he's
the last
good.
year, but he should be back. They have Ray Harrison. They have Colin Moore from Georgia State,
Oh,
who is
yeah.
decent.
Okay.
They still have Gabe McLaughlin back.
Oh, I liked Gabe
They
a
have
lot.
like Sidney Curry, who was like he's huge. I mean, he was at Louisville. He was
I was
like
about
the
to say I
big
knew he was at
guy,
Louisville. I was just trying to
which like
remember.
anyone in Louisville last year kind of sucked, but like he's like gonna be huge
I
body
didn't
for
know
the
they still had
WAC.
all these pieces. Grand Canyon really impressed me last year.
Yeah.
Like, you remember, um, when they made it against Iowa a couple years back, I was not
Hmm.
impressed with them at all. Like they couldn't hit crap against, an awful defensive team. But
Yeah.
this year, like they first half, they were toe to toe with Gonzaga. Like, no, they held their own for a while, much longer than people thought. They made a lot of shots and they have a lot of shot makers.
Hmm.
Definitely. So be fun.
Yeah, and just like continuing down the roster, they have like Duke Brennan, who Arizona State transfer. Josh Baker was pretty decent player for them last year. They have Ty and Grant Foster, who is speaking about cardiac arrest. He's a guy who underwent that at DePaul and is now supposedly cleared to be playing college basketball again, which is
Huh.
also this is good news. And he's a real wild card because he could be like really good, but he also
Of
hasn't played
course.
basketball in like 2 years. So it's
Right, you just don't know.
could see a similar like situation to Keontae. Hopefully we do because Keontae was surprisingly very good this season. But yeah, they also got Luke Ward from Oregon, who's decent. So yeah, this team is going to be really good. But yeah, definitely on my bucket list to see at some point.
You ever been to the Garden?
No, I haven't been that many
I'm
places.
about to say, I know you've probably been focusing on the West Coast bucket list, but there's
Yeah,
definitely
well,
quite a few on the
yeah,
East Coast.
definitely East Coast. The Palestra is definitely one I have to get to at some point. I know
Yeah,
you've probably been to it multiple
inner.
times.
Mm-hmm. No, it's
So
so fun.
yes, we have some realignment news, which is really starting to pick up, really starting to be a big deal. The big news is Colorado. Well, the big news that's official is Colorado moving to the Big 12. They're back in the Big 12. And I mean, their athletic department is on the rise with football kind of being having some energy in them, basketball. I mean, these moves are obviously all based on football, but their basketball program is trending in the right direction, I'd say. This
Yeah.
is, I mean, not really trend. I mean, I think they're just like solid. This year at least they'll be good. But yeah, they'll be in the Big 12 next year, not obviously like this year, but the year after this year. And then this kind of opened up another like big domino effect in a way because it seems like the Pac-12, like it seems like Arizona and Arizona State are gone from the Pac-12, probably going to the Big 12. Um, it seems like, I mean, obviously UCLA and
Big
USC
12
have,
is gonna need two divisions, dude. Like it's just too freaking big. It's like a
yeah,
big
I
20.
mean, Oregon and Washington, they might go to the Big Ten too. I mean, that's been rumored.
Oh gosh.
So yeah, it's UConn is rumored to go to the Big 12. I mean, I
Yeah, that
I don't
rumor's
even know. This is a time where we need Dan because he's a more of a realignment expert. Obviously, he's
is.
more of a college football guy and more plugged in on that side, which is most of these things come
That's what
down
the
to
decisions are based on.
football. But I think Big 12 is trying to build like a super basketball conference
Yeah, that's
because
what it's really seeing. Like, it seems like the Big 12 is making these for basketball, at least in my eyes. But then again, like, my dad will always remind me of like how Colorado, he grew up with Colorado and Mizzou in the Big 12. They used to be like, Colorado used to be a football powerhouse
hmm,
back in the old days. So,
yeah.
I do think that's their first sport. I feel like Mizzou is going to be low key joining them soon. They really should move to the Big 12. Like, I don't know why they're even in the. I think they've always been a Big 12 school to me because, like, geographically, they're right
Yeah.
there. Like, they're not anywhere in the Southeast in terms of. And I'll be honest, in the SEC, they don't have a rival, and SEC schools have always said that, and it's true. Like, they really don't. Like,
Yeah.
you can pretend to Arkansas is kind of a rival in football. There's been a little bit, they played each other, and it gets kind of heated, but it's not a rivalry like at all. Like, they have rivalries in the Big 12, as you know, even though if it's very one sided, it's still, a rivalry with history in Kansas. And Colorado was a pretty big rival way back in the day. So like they need to try and get a move in. I don't know if it's realistic, but there's definitely a team that should be considering realignment.
Yes. We have yes. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with like the Pac-12, the ACCs might also be falling apart. Who
Yeah,
knows? We'll see. It seems like they're moving towards like a power three conferences, or
seems like it.
we will see how that happens. But um, yeah, uh, some more college sports related news as these Iowa and Iowa State players are being investigated for gambling and I mean, it started with Iowa State quarterback Hunter Deckers was like kind of the first domino to fall, which Iowa State fans aren't too upset about that because he wasn't really that good, but more of the problem is
He was
so
throwing games.
who knows? But basketball wise, Aaron Eulis is found to have wagered nearly $35,000 on FanDuel.
2,000
So
wagers. Yeah.
that is and supposedly at least one of them was on Iowa basketball, which is a big issue. The big issue is if he's gambling on his own teams. Because that is like
Or
that's where
against
it
his
really
own
is.
teams.
Like, I mean,
I don't like when they said one bet on Iowa basketball, I'm thinking of all the bets against Iowa basketball.
yeah, but and the thing is, like, I don't know. I think like the only schools they've really investigated are Iowa and Iowa State. So like you got to think there are so many players around the country that are
Oh,
really
100%,
nervous right now
I
because
was just taking, the gambling crap seriously, which states should, like, gambling's such a dangerous addiction to begin with. Like, as an
mhm,
athlete, you can't have that kind of distraction
no.
going on. The other states should really follow suit. Like, I think Iowa's doing a really good job as a state here. Like, they should be looking out for those athletes to not get hooked on that kind of stuff. Cause, like, let's look at it this way. Once these guys are out of school, right? Like, not everyone's a professional outside of college. Are they gonna just get hooked on gambling after school? Like, you just don't know that. And, you kind of want to stop that stuff when you're in school at least, right? Like, because then it's definitely going to become like something after you graduate. Like, so, the state of Iowa is just looking out for these guys. And like a lot of these other states with, New York recently becoming illegal with gambling, and other states like that, like, they should really start looking into, like, are you betting on your mom's account or things like that? You could track SSNs, and that's how they do it. So, like, they really need to start looking out for these players.
Yeah, there's no realistic way that Ulyss has eligibility left after this, but because he bet in his own team, that's the main thing. Like there are definitely players out there that like have not bet in their own team but have bet, which it results in different punishments across the board. I know the NCAA released something new where like kind of like had like tiers of how bad it was. Let me see if I can find that real quick.
So I don't know
Um
how the punishments are, but
it's they changed it recently, like yeah, so I'll pull up this article from USA Today. That was the first thing that I let me see if this actually explains it. Um, but yeah, so basically, I mean, anyone that like bets on their own games is, I think, faces permanent ban of eligibility. Um, Wagering on another sport at your school could result in a half season ban. Let me see, what else do we have? And then some of and I've also seen that some of it's like a partial suspension or like education, like trying to just like if it's like not that much money and like not on a like okay, here's it. So if it's $200 or less, it's sports wagering rules and prevention education. So nothing eligibility wise. $201 to $500 of gambling. It's a loss of 10% of a season of eligibility, plus rules and prevention education. $501 to $800 is loss of 20% of a season, plus prevention education, stuff like that. Greater than 800 is loss of 30% of a season of eligibility. And um yeah, so and then over that just kind
it's
of
just
up
like
to
amount
like
of wagers, right?
yeah. But yeah, Euless wagered like $35,000. So
And
he's
then 2,000 separate wagers. So like he's
mm,
way off the scale. Like he's
yes.
receiving the maximum penalty.
Which isn't like I mean like it isn't like he's not just like throwing like huge amounts of money at
No,
like every game, which is I mean, you don't want to see any of this, but it's probably I mean, you'd rather have him not wagering a ton and like betting like
right.
thousands of dollars. That's where he gets really out
Of
of hand.
course,
But
right.
yeah, he will likely not be eligible anymore, so he can continue his FanDuel stuff
Right.
without any penalties because he won't be an athlete anymore. But yeah, speaking about Nebraska, I'm a big fan of Jamarcus Lawrence. So this is some great news. It opens up the door for Lawrence
Does.
to really step in because he was great down the stretch and is probably better than Ulyss anyway, and he gets more playing time. So I didn't really think
Probably
Ulyss was
makes
ever
them
like that
better.
great to begin with.
Yeah.
But yeah, Nebraska has been playing their international tour. Ulyss is with them, but not allowed to play any games. Uh, yeah, Nebraska's like starting walk-ons now, but one of their walk-ons that they have is actually kind of good. He's from Nebraska and like has like low major offers, and Apparently, he
Huh.
might be in the rotation this year. So yeah,
Yeah, their bench is gonna be pretty sus. Not gonna
yeah.
lie.
I
They have a good starting five, but like
mean, they have
bench
like
wise,
Alec off the bench. They have like
oh yeah, they do a Alec.
who else do they have off the bench? Like CJ Wilcher. I mean,
That's
they
true.
have
Yeah,
like
CJ is a good bench piece.
Eli Rice is I've heard some decent things about. Ramel Lloyd is a redshirt freshman. Yeah. Anything else we need to talk about today? I mean, it's kind of a
I think
quicker
that's
episode.
everything. I think that's everything.
All right. Yeah. Make sure to follow all of our social medias. Follow us on Instagram, Hoops Hoop Media. I'm still going to call it Twitter. I'm not going to call it X. Can we agree
Yeah,
on that?
we're
Still
not
follow us on.
hopping on that non-existent wave because I know everyone's still calling it
No,
Twitter.
it's still going to be Twitter. It's not like like when some like sports teams change their names of arenas, but like it's like some like outrageous name that like yeah, I'm still gonna call it the whole thing like
Crypt Arena,
I'm always gonna call it the Brewer Stadium Miller Park.
Staples, yeah,
Yeah.
Miller
You
Park's
know, I don't
another one.
even know what it is now, but it's
American
gonna
Family
be
Field,
it's gonna be Miller Park for me. But yeah.
of course.
Still gonna call it Twitter. Still gonna be tweeting, even though it's posting and reposting now.
Right.
Not gonna change that language up for me personally. But yeah, follow us, Hoop Scoop Media, Instagram, Twitter. Follow Kyle at Mid Major Basketball on Instagram. And yeah, subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're watching us on YouTube right now, hit the thumbs up button, turn on post notifications. And if you're not watching us on YouTube, that is an option if you weren't aware. So yeah, feel free to do that. And yeah, do we have I guess we probably hit everything, didn't we?
Probably, yeah. Honestly, felt like we
Yeah.
did.
Well, yeah, as I said, just a little shorter of an episode today, just to kind of get everyone that listens and relies on us for news just refreshed. And yeah, so I think it's officially conference preview season now. So we will be back next week, likely with a conference preview.
Yep.
Um, yeah, this will probably be my last podcast at home as well as I am moving back to college
Yeah.
shortly. So we
Got the
might see a new
apartment.
setup next week. Yeah,
There
got
you
the
go.
duplex.
Oh,
We may
gonna be
see
a
a new
nice
setup
setup
next week.
there.
Yes, well, yeah, we will see you next week with some conference preview action.